face-to-face program. We have with us Shri M. Rajendranji, the award winner in Tamil language, whose novel Kala Pani received the Sahitya Akademi Award 2022. M. Rajendranji is an eminent writer in Tamil and he writes in English too. I humbly invite Rajendranji onto the stage. With him, A. Vanilla Ji will converse. I invite Vanilla Ji onto the stage. Vanilla Ji is a noted Tamil writer, and she is one of the few Tamil writers to become highly popular with her unique and pioneering works in modern literature. Her debut novel, Gangapuram, has got the credit as the first historical novel in modern Tamil literature. She continues to research extensively in the realms of local history and also compiled the short stories written by Tamil women for the past 85 years, titled The Remaining Words. Let us heartily welcome Rajendranji and Vanilaji, and I request Vanilaji to kindly begin.
Dear friends, good afternoon to all of you. This is a very hard time being in listening the meeting at this time after a heavy lunch. And for the speakers also, it's a very difficult time. But bearing all this, we are now starting our session. And now I introduce myself. I'm A. Vanilla, writer, poet, and essayist, writing in Tamil. And it's my great pleasure to interact with Dr. Rajendran, who backs Sahitya Academy this year for his eminent novel Kala Pani. So this is a memorable day for me. And now it's a great pride for me to introduce Dr. Rajendran. Dr. Rajendran is an efficient administrative officer and a historical researcher, historical fiction writer, and he is multifaceted personality. And one more interesting thing, he turned a writer at his age of 50. It is very unusual and very interesting one to hear that a person who is becoming a writer at his age of 50. So it will be very interesting to start from here, asking Dr. Rajendran how it happened at your age of 50. Writer.
As Dr. Vanilla put, I start writing when other writers stop writing. Normally they will stop writing at the age of 50, but I started at the age of 50. But all along, I think I had been a writer. In my college days, I am the last bencher. Last bench gives you so much of opportunity, histrionic talents. Most of the last benchers during the college days turned out to be great creative persons. In the same way, in my college days, I was the last bencher. Even though I have not started writing early like Vanilla, I started late. But during my college days, in the last bench, I used to scribble something which was acclaimed and praised by many of my co-benchers because they were also not interested in studies. Those last benches, they were my close friends, and they started enjoying my writings. They said, Rajendran, you got a great histrionic talent. Humor comes to you very naturally. Mostly, as you know, all the writings are aimed at probably my teacher, probably making ridicule of him, and of course, the persons who study well. Our target should be either a backbencher's target will be mostly a teacher or the person who studies well. Both of them are not liked by backbenchers. So I happen to be like that fellow. But I started writing that category right, in that age. I started writing, but it never get published. It had a limited lifetime. That one period, it starts with the start of the period, and my creativity ends with the close of the period. So this 45 minutes, I was very active as a critical, as a creative person. And after that, I am a normal person. So all these things were pent up. They have been waiting for an opportunity. As you know, I was a collector, and during till the time I was collector, I didn't exhibit this thing because criticism will come. People who have no other reason to blame us will tell us that this fellow is all the time writing something, scribbling something, and not showing proper interest in the administration. So just to avoid that, I have not written anything during till I was collector. So after becoming collector, I started writing, and fortunately for me, and then it's good for me that I'm very happy that I associated with Kavigir Venila and Murugesh 12 years before. We started to write about the Bandavasi war, and at that time, I don't know that our friendship and relationship will take me to this level. In fact, it has taken me to this level, and I appreciate myself for finding out a correct mentor, a correct friend, philosopher, and guide as he is.
Thanks for your acknowledgement. And one more thing you mentioned that about the persons backseaters. I have written a poem on backseaters. Uh, very interesting thing, I think, comparing the front bench seaters or back seaters. Back seaters are most interesting persons. They have the all qualities and things to write on them or by them. It's so like that. As a back seater, now you became a writer. It's a
Front seater. I become a front seater. This is the case with all the backseaters. All the backseaters will become front seaters one day.
but being a back seater is, I think, is an interesting thing comparing front seaters. Thank you.
But that will be a great agonizing thing for the parents. If a parent came to know that your son is sitting in the
Back
back seat,
seat.
that will be a great agonizing thing. Even as a parent, I will not be happy if I know that my son is sitting in the back side.
But general ideas are probably differs from the literature and art. Barring the crossing the general opinion is the basic for the literature, I think. So let's move to the next question. So history writing is basically different from the historical fiction writing because fiction writing needs more imagination and the way of language skill and the way how to interact with the readers, attract the readers is very important. So first of all, you started your writing as a historical research person. So how you manage your language when you write the research article or essays based on history, and how you manage your language when you write the fiction? Is it difficult for you, or naturally you adapt to that.
Actually, I started my writing career as a writer on copper plates. So first I started writing. My first book is on Chola copper plates. Then I wrote about Pandya, Pallava, Chera copper plates. So those things are just mere renderings of the copper plates in simple Tamil. There is no creativity in that. Just I want to tell the Tamil public what is there in a copper plate. So those way it is just a mere rendering of this copper plate in simple Tamil. Later I know that it's going to be, even though it is written, it was received well by the public and the children. I thought that this will not lead me to anything, because after writing the about the uh, gen- four kings, there is nothing to be written. Probably I can write about Nayak kings. I could have written about Maratha kings, and then I could have written about Chola, this Ramnad, this Sedupati copper plates. I could have written these three. I will left it because I thought it will not lead me to even nearer to the award, because even at the time of starting for the starting my writing career, I thought that I should achieve something, and for that, creativity is the best medium through which I can express myself. Not only myself, anybody can express better in a creative sphere rather than mere rendering in simple language. For example, K.A. Neelakanta Sastri, Professor K.A. Neelakanta Sastri is a great political writer, historical writer. His Cholas is known everywhere. Like that, T.V. Ramalingam, T.V. Mahalingam is a great writer. And then C. Govindarajanar is a great writer on history. Like that, Ma Rajamanikana. All these people have written history, and they are subjects in schools and colleges. But compared to them, Kalki, Sandilyan, Vikraman, they are all known throughout Tamil Nadu because they have approached history through the creative media. So if you look at anything in a creative perspective, then you will be recognized. You'll be known throughout the world. So that's why instead of taking the route of Dr. Chola's Neelakanta Sastri or Ma Rajamanikam, I took the route of Kalki and Sandilya.
Yes, as you told, for any fictional writing, creativity is very important. So, when history writing is totally different from fictional writing, as you told. Is there any, are you following anybody as your mentor in Tamil history writing? Because nowadays, in modern Tamil literature, also, history writing, not only history writing, historical fiction writing is trending now, and many of the writers are writing historical fiction. So, do you share about any mentor who influenced in your writing?
You yourself is a historical writer. You
And
were a,
I
you were,
started
as a
writing after you
yes, after
only.
me, but you started your career as a poet, and then after getting recognition as a poet, you recently turned towards historical
Fictional
writing.
writer.
I think this Gangapuram is the first novel, and then followed by Salam. These two historical novels. In my case, as you know, times have changed. For example, we cannot write like Kalki. We cannot write like Sandillian, because those times, times were different. People have enough time. For example, Kalki will explain a landscape in 10 pages. He will explain the landscape in 10 pages. Kalki will explain the beauty of a woman in 15 pages. There were people who have patience to read all those things. But nowadays, people don't have that kind of patience. If we start writing like Kalki or Sandillian, we ourselves can read and then be happy with us, with our writing. We have to approach the modern reader through dialogues, mostly dialogues and mostly with informations. I'm not finding fault with our my senior historical writers. With the minimum material, you can write about many things. For example, again Kalki I'm quoting about Vandiyathevan. There is only one single line. That is Vandiyathevan is the brother-in-law of Rajaraja Chola and the husband of Kundavi, Kundavai. This is the only information available about uh, Vandiyathevan. But Kalki made him a big hero. This novel is about 2,500 pages, and in these 2,500 pages, he is about 500 pages. He dominates. Nobody will question because people will accept it as a historical novel. But if we start writing an imaginary character with this much importance, people, our readers will find out because before going your novel, they will first search in the Google and they will get all details. So they will approach you after getting all this information. Sometimes I could find out that many of my readers are better informed than me. They know many things. They have so much of access to so many places. So that is why we have to be very cautious while writing about historical novels. And while writing history books, the language should be straightforward, straight. Whatever this is the date, this is the information. But in a creative writing, especially historical writing, we have to be not only imaginative, but also the language should be different from one character to another character. For example, if Vengai Periyar Udayanathavar, who is the king of Sivaganga, may speak in a different language, Sheikh Hussain, a follower of Vengai Periyar Udayanathavan, can speak a different language because of his background. Duraisamy, a young man around 15 years old, he can speak in a different way. So all those things can be find place in a historical novel, and there is a lots of difference between writing a history book and historical novel. And nowadays, all the most of the people, especially in Tamil Nadu, all the feature films are period films. Most of them are period films. In Telugu also, most of them are period films. Some of them are not related to history also. For example, Bahubali, there is no king by name Bahubali. There is no historical material behind that. But people like to have something fantasy, something our heritage. They want to utilize. They want to praise our heritage, and that's why they go for historical novels. And all of us, many of us, are taken a different route by writing the historical novels.
Yes, as you told, now it's the time for the period film. Today, Triple R has bagged one Oscar award for the song in that film. It's also a great welcome, I think, for the history. And another major difference I found in your writing is, as you mentioned, Kalki, Vikraman, and our Tamil senior historical writer, we different from them totally because they has written their novels only based on minimum sources, real sources. What are the historical sources they used in their novels are very minimum. Maximum in Kalki, Ponniyin Selvan, we could find 10 to 15% historical references. But nowadays, in modern historical fictions, I think 80 to 90% of original sources are used. You are the first one, and some one or two books might be in Tamil, but in writing the colonial period, you are the first one who initiated this kind of method, how to write the historical fiction. So now I wish to tell about your Kalapani, which bagged the Sahitya Academy Award. That is very special in two ways, I think. It is written on the field trip, and the original sources you collected from the archives and from other British books. And another thing, that is the first book which gives lights to the South Indian history. So in these two ways, it is very important to Tamil literature and Tamil history. So I request you to share about the how you choose to write the Kalapani novel, and what are the importance on that, and how you planned it. Many questions I club in one question. So yes, where you have traveled for that novel?
In fact, I'm not the first person to write about South Indian rebellion. Dr. K. Rajayan has written about the South Indian rebellion, and he, as a tagline, he said, "The history of India should be written from the South, because South India has done so much of thing for the freedom struggle. Not only freedom struggle, but also literary cycle, literary side we have done so much. Political side we have done so much. In fact, our Chola kings were the first rulers in India to go out of India on an offensive mode. All the other kings in India were in the defensive mode. We went on an offensive mode. We have conquered up to Southeast Asia. So this kind information is available in North Indian writings, especially in Mortimer Wheeler's book, a single line about Cholas, even though we got such credentials. Regarding freedom struggle, recent freedom struggle also, South India has done great thing, but it is not being told properly. The fault is on the writers. It is not the fault of the other people or people. It's the fault of the writers. We could have brought to the knowledge of the national capital, up to the national capital. For example, in this campus, we have got three auditoriums. One is Veda Vyas Auditorium, another is Tulasidas Auditorium, third one is Tiruvallur Auditorium. So how within three eminent people, eminent literators in India, Tiruvallur has found a place? Because recently in all forums, especially our Prime Minister is pricing or quoting Tiruvallur in all his meetings. So in the Kasi Sangamam, he said, what all Tamils have is of common heritage of India. It doesn't belong to a Tamil particular community. It belongs to the common heritage of India. So that's why we now we are slowly telling our northern brethren that even before 1857, 56 years before 1857, we had a great fight. Our loss was great. 500 people, including kings, they were all hanged in one place, and the 73 people who have been transported to Malaysia and Sumatra Island for the first time in the Indian political history. Of course, during 1857, Mughal king Bahadur Shah II was excommunicated to Burma along with his wife in the year 1857. But 56 years before, 73 people covering all religions. We had Christians. One Christian is there. we had one Muslim, there is one Brahman, there are about 43 other communities, mostly Tevar communities, and then Nayaks, Naidus, Telugu speaking Naidus. So all the Kannada speaking people, they were all clubbed together and branded as rebels, and they have been transported to Malaysia and Singapore. So this kind of sufferings has to be brought to the knowledge of our northern brethren. So that is what my intention. And I thought instead of writing a book on history, I think I can reach out them by writing a historical fiction. People may be knowing, may be doubting, how can Penang and Sumatra Island can be a criminal settlement when Andaman is there? But for your information, Andaman is a recent settlement, criminal settlement. Andaman became a criminal settlement in the year 1900 only. Prior to 1900, in the year 1970, 55 itself, and then 1800, Penang is the criminal settlement. Sumatra is the criminal settlement. So later only this Andaman became a criminal settlement. So first our people have been sent to those places, and many of them have had a very tragic life there. So those sufferings, I want to project. I want to tell it to our brethren, northern brethren, and the east and western brethren. That's why I wrote this novel.
Yeah, particularly, I too believe that Kalapani, if translated to 24 languages, because Agitya Academy usually doing the translation. So after that only our history will be in limelight. And even during my previous national seminars, particularly on Sahitya Academy forums, I felt very bad about that. Most of the writers are clubbed together, even from Marathi, Kerala, and the Kannada, and all the poets and writers are well known to each other. Only Tamil poet, I will be alone in most of the forums, and even the Hindi speaking and or any Indian writers couldn't tell even a name of our Tamil writers. In sometimes they can tell that Jayaganthan I know, and sometimes they say Na Parthasarathi I know. They are very old. Even Jayaganthan has stopped his writing 50 years back. Even till now, Jayaganthan, Na Parthasarathi, some writers are known to Indian other state writers. So that is the gap, or we missing that place. So that this kind of translation could help to understand ours. This is the change, as you mentioned earlier. Here two poets are there, and along them our Tiruvallur is there. That is a great change taking place nowadays. And one more thing I wish to share now in this good occasion, our Tamil Nadu government has started the translation with other Indian states, particularly to usually we do with the southern states. Now the government has started to translate our Tamil book to Indian languages. So if the process continues for another upcoming 5 years or 10 years, the change will come, I think. Let's move to the another question.
Regarding your grievance that Tamil poets are not known elsewhere, this country can be divided into three categories. Number one, Hindi speaking states. There are about 20 Hindi speaking states, big and small. I include Union Territories also. There are about 8 states which do not speak Hindi, but they approve Hindi. For example, Rajasthan. For example, Gujarat. All these Kannada. All these things are Malayalam. All these things. This is the second category. We are in the third category. We are neither totally Hindi speaking, or we are not non-Hindi speaking at the same time accepting Hindi. So we are in the third category. I thought Pondicherry will be with us, but Pondicherry is also not with us. We are 3A. 3 can be divided into A, B. and we are 3A. So the fault is on us. So who stopped you from learning Hindi? Who stopped you from translating your work into Hindi? So in the changed world, in the changed modern world, as Sahitya Academy has identified Tiruvallur as one among the big literatures in the country, why can't we find ourselves in their midst? So it's high time that we should also be approachable and be approached. Both ways we should be ready, and I think it's high time.
I think it's a political stand. We have to surely give concentration on that. My next question to you, you have written your family history. Almost it's a form of an autobiographical. Very interesting thing is you have remembered nearly 10 generations of your ancestors. How it is possible to remember all this? But because nowadays the people even couldn't remember their grandfather's father's name also. So how it is possible, and what kind of response from the readers of that book? That book name is Vadakarai ஒரு வம்சத்தின் வரலாறு. It has translated as the clown of Vadakarai. So you share your experience on that book, sir.
This is the problem with all the old people. All old people, because I have to accept I am also old. The problem with the old people is they will remember all the things, past things they will remember. Recent things they will forget. This is the condition of old age. You will also come across that thing soon. But I already crossed that thing. So I remember all those things, especially during the early ages. Whatever we come across up to the age of 10, 12, it will be very much remembered. Not only to me, but all people. When we become old, the absorbing capacity gets reduced. So I lived in my village up to my 12th age. So during those young age, whatever I gathered through my grandparents, my grandfather was Ivan Maldevan, who was the president for more than 30 years continuously, uncontested. So I used to be his close associate, even though I was very old, very young, and he was very old. We had a great bondage. So through that bondage, I collected informations and kept those informations, and I wrote those things. Our famous Sahitya Academy winner, uh, Nanjil Nadan, says it is the first socio-geographical, ethnographical novel. It's the first ethnographical novel. So it is about that area, not about my family. It is about the area I live. It is about the community I represent. Those kind of writing, it was well received at that time, but I was not very sure about publishing that book, because I thought what a reader is going to gain out of knowing a small family's life. What is going to gain by reading about a small village? In fact, even now, my village is not even in the taluk map of my taluk. Even the Tasildar who spends around 2 years in in a taluk may not be knowing my place, because such a small place where only 50 houses are there. So I thought, what is going to be the use? But later, I thought, by recording such things, I could bring out the old lifestyle. For example, there is the runner in the postal service. There is a post called runner. Nowadays, we have got all these things, new items by new way of sending. We send messages by email. We send messages through courier, post office, and all that. 150 years before, there was a system called runner system. A person will take the cabal from here, and then he will start running to reach a place. That is called runner. So that those kind of life I want to bring it in the book, and people, I think it was not taken as an individual's life, individual's autobiography. It was taken as the biography of a region, biography of area. So that's why it got its recognition.
Of course, yeah, you are right. You have written the colonial period life. What are the system during that time? What are the postings, or even how the collectorate will function? What are the posting in a collector office? Everything you have brought in it, and the life of the people. For example, how the people was affected during that time by a disease, by a pandemic disease, plague. Yeah,
Plague is
yeah, plague is there, was there. So you have even picturized colonial period life even in that novel also. And now I think you have get all the inspiration from the book Anandaranga Pillai diary, which we both edited that 12 volumes of that Anandaranga Pillai. Anandaranga Pillai, for the reader's sake, I wish to say a few words about him. Anandaranga Pillai was a Dubashi for the French governors during 1726 to 1760. So at that time, he has written diaries for the continuously for the 25 years without any break. That is a very rare thing happened in the history, and only document available during the European rule, that is written by a Indian. No documents are during that time. So we edited that book for the as a classic edition, which will be useful for the contemporary history readers, and even that is the first prose, our literary critics called this as the first prose of Tamil. So, what is your experience in editing that book?
yes, Anandaranga Pillai diary. He is the, I think he should be called the father of diary writing in the world. But unfortunately, um, Samuel Pepys is called the father of diary writing. In fact, he has written about only for 110 years. But our Anandaranga Pillai has written for 25 years continuously. He was a Dubashi in the French government. And in fact, among our midst in this gathering, I could find Mr. Rajendra Prasad Misra. Mr. Rajendra Prasad Misra is a very eminent translator. I am happy you are here, sir. Dr. Mishra has translated so many books which received Sahitya Academy. Even some of the uh, books he translated later received Sahitya Academy. Either he will translate the Sahitya Academy works, or the works he work will get Sahitya Academy. That kind of person. So I'm happy that Rajendra Prasad Mishra, people like him, should take interest in literature like Anandaranga Pillai diary, because Anandaranga Pillai diary talks about 25 years of day-to-day life of Pondicherry during the French rule. At that time, French governor Duplay was the governor of Pondicherry for 10 years continuously. So every day, this Anandaranga Pillai is translator. In fact, he is your predecessor's predecessor. For all translators, I think the translation award should be given in the name of Anandaranga Pillai. See, Anandaranga Pillai knows more than 7 languages. So he has written about in 6,000 pages. Every day he will write whatever happened. So this Anandaranga Pillai diary talks about the life of Pondicherry, how they became popular throughout South India, how they had a colony in West Bengal. In West Bengal, this now what's the name? West Bengal near Calcutta, Chandranahur. Chandranahur was the once the capital of India. So he had a great uh, memory power as well as knowledge about the world, about India. He has written about Marathas. He has written about, even though sitting at Pondicherry, he wrote about Mughals and the decline of Mughals. He talked about the attack of Nadir Shah. He talked about the attack of Ahmad Shah Abdali, because he has written from 1736 to 1761, 25 years. So these kind of writings should reach throughout the length and breadth of India. Then only we know how people have suffered, how people have the knowledge and urge to pass on the information to the future generations.
Yeah, it's good work. I think it's we have made it possible with some other friends also, and it's a great contribution to Tamil history, not only Tamil history and Indian history, and for Tamil literature. So the last, it's a time to wind up. Thanks for sharing your valuable experience. And during your busy schedule as an administrative officer, within a span of a decade, you have written nearly 14 books. Of course, it exceeds nearly 5,000 pages, I hope. So now you retired. I hope you will write more and more. You have many plans. So again, you have to travel to many places, and I know you have the wish to bring out the Netaji's history to the limelight, and into the not only to the history and to the literary world. So I wish your dreams will come true soon. Thanks for your present, and thanks for the valuable experience. And I thank Sahitya Academy to give me this opportunity being with you all. Thank you, friends.
And a special thanks to Dr. Aravindan, Professor of Tamil, JN University, and the convener of Sagit Academy for Tamil language. And as you tell, we are the great fans of Netaji. All most of the Tamilians are great fans of Netaji. In fact, sometimes some of our even put Netaji above Gandhiji in the freedom struggle. So we are staunch supporters of Netaji. In every village in Tamil Nadu, you can find around 10, 15 Boses, 10, 15 Subhashas. So that kind of thing. In fact, we are planning to write up a novel on Netaji. And I also thank Sahit Academy for giving me this opportunity. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Rajendran ji, for your rare insights into creative writing as well as history. And thank you, Vanilla ji. With this, with the end of this segment, the face-to-face program ends. I thank you all by heart. Thank you.